Welcome to Wax and Comical, comic book podcast for comics. This is Luke.
That's me.
And Dane.
That's Dane.
Hi.
He likes doing the intros.
Intros are fun for me, because it's the same thing every time. I like a routine, because otherwise, like, the world just descends into chaos.
Yeah, that intro is actually the one part of the podcast that we have scripted, and it's very tightly scripted.
Heavily scripted. We do not go off book. That would be cray-cray.
No.
Anyway, we talk about Saga, which is a very good comic that you should definitely go out and read.
It's super good.
The art is phenomenal, because we don't actually mention that in the episode because we're bad people.
We are just garbage.
It does get, like, okay, when I say it does get better, the way I say that makes it sound like it starts off bad. It doesn't start off bad. I'm just saying, like, it starts at good and gets better.
Yeah, whatever is better than good.
Yeah, greater.
Gooder.
Greater than.
Yeah. Fiona Staples is the artist on Saga.
She's a lady, and they let her do art.
Right. It's a very progressive comic.
Yeah, there's a lot of breastfeeding and stuff in it.
Right there on the cover. The first
right on the cover. I didn't even notice it until today.
Yeah,
and I've been reading it since, like, 2012 or 13.
It's super obvious. It just looks like she's cradling a baby.
Yeah, it just looks like she's holding a baby, and apparently some retailers, like, refused to carry it because there was breastfeeding happening on it.
When really it was probably because of the whole interracial thing.
That's more accurate, because America.
America. So yeah, this is a Saga by Brian K. Vaughan with art by Fiona Staples, who I
think she also does does she do the coloring?
I
know she does the inking.
I thought she did all of it.
Yeah, she probably does. She also does the lettering for when Hazel does the narration. Like, she writes that out.
That makes sense, since it's kind of like part of the background usually.
Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned that in the episode, but I do like that.
Yeah, I think we did. Or I think you did.
Well, I do like that, how Hazel...
I think you will mention it when we talk about it in a few minutes.
have done so of the recording.
You have a stroke? Do you smell burnt toast?
Well, yeah, but I was just making some burnt toast. So that's inconclusive.
I was just lighting bread on fire.
I can't not do what the voices tell me to.
Remember that episode of The Simpsons where... Yep, okay. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Was it something about Ralph saying that the leprechauns tell him to burn things?
Yeah, and then it shows up at the end after he, like, saves the day or something, and it's like, you did good, Ralphie. Now burn them! Burn them all!
I can't remember the episode very clearly, but I remember that from... I forget what it was. It was one of the PS2 era Simpsons games. Simpsons Hit and Run, I think. Where it was
I remember that, actually.
Yeah, it was like just kind of like Crazy Taxi, but in Simpsons. Where you could,
like, get out and run around, right?
Yeah, I think so. But it was mostly just driving missions.
Yeah, I remember that.
They would have a bunch of quotes from the show, including that one. Anyway, enjoy this show.
Yep, it's real good, probably.
Hope so.
Right?
I don't remember any of it. I was drunk.
Me neither. I just hit my head all the time. I don't wear helmets, because I'm not a square.
Yeah, strangely the one person that maybe should, but you know.
I fall off my bike all the time.
That's why you need those training wheels back.
I'm a big boy, though, so...
You are a big boy. Follow us on the twit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, follow us on Twitter, because that's what it's called, at Wax and Comical.
I'm sorry I can't keep up with all the social media.
Sometimes we post stuff on there, and also we post the episodes.
That's true. But if you're listening to this, then you've already found a way to get to the episodes.
Right?
So
retroactively go find it on our Twitter.
Yeah. And enjoy the show.
Yeah. Theme song.
Saga
Yes, Saga is real good. It's
Fucking
a,
great comic.
sci-fi fantasy space comic.
It's
It's
like
like Romeo and Juliet in Star Wars, but so much better.
pretty much that sums it up. This is the first comic I've read in a while where once I didn't finish because it's still ongoing, but once I caught up with it, I just immediately wanted to start over. Like
That's how I feel about Invincible.
Yeah.
I might still do that. Like I refinished it like a month or two ago, and I'm still considering just restarting it. It's so good.
Well,
but we're not here to talk about Invincible. We're here to talk about Saga by
true.
Brian K. Vaughan, who did Why the Last Man, which we did a podcast about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So he's gotten a lot of airtime with us.
With good reason. He is quickly becoming one of my favorite writers.
He is consistently good at writing.
Everything I've read from him, yeah. I've now read this, Why the Last Man, and Pride of Baghdad from him.
I haven't read that.
And I still have Ex Machina to start, which
Yeah, I gotta read that at some point.
I was excited to find is no longer ongoing, so I can actually read the whole goddamn
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Did he do that after Why the Last Man?
I don't know.
He probably.
I think so.
Let's just assume he did.
Anyway, but still, Saga.
Yeah, Saga, which like you're so lucky that you didn't get into comic books until like relatively recently, because I started reading it. I want to say Volume 2 might have been out when I got the first volume, or no, okay. I think the contents of Volume 2 were out, but the actual thing wasn't out yet because I bought the first one and that was it. And then like not too long after Volume 2 came out, so
essentially
I've been
Volume 2
reading
was
it.
out. You could read through.
Yeah,
the first
essentially
two
Volume
volumes.
2 was out, and I went and bought it. So I've been reading it since then.
There are 5 volumes out now, and I mean, yeah, I'm lucky that there was that much out when I started, but at the same time, now I'm in the same boat as you, and I hate it.
You're the same boat as me, just later.
It's so fucking good, and now I'm going to have to wait a month between issues.
A month between issues, and then a few months between story arcs. Yep.
Good things take time, right?
Yeah, I guess, because Invincible's going to be doing that now, too.
Stupid.
Which, like, I thought that wasn't going
writers.
to happen, because they said that, like a year and a half ago. He was like, yeah, we're going to start doing that, and it never did. So I was like, okay, maybe he just forgot. Let's keep this going.
Catch you by
and now he's
surprise.
like, hey, April.
Well, that gives me time to catch up on other things, but I'll still be upset. So Saga, like you said, is kind of a Romeo and Juliet story, because it's about a man and a woman from 2 warring space species, which are essentially humans, but just one of them has horns, one of them has wings. That's
Also
how you,
magic.
That's how you tell the species apart. The ones with horns can do magic. They don't actually
talk in what did you say, Esperanto or something?
Yeah, okay, so there's the people from Landfall, which all have wings, and they just speak English, but they just call it language. They don't actually have a word for it other than language. And then the people from the moon of Landfall, called Wreath, they all have horns, and they speak Esperanto, which is an
but also
entirely
it's blue.
real language.
Does that come across when you hear it, do you think?
I mean, they do refer to it as blue. Like
really?
Yeah, that's the
oh
name
my god, that's awesome.
Their name for the language is blue, or the blue language. And have they ever? I don't think they mentioned at all why they're at war. These 2 species, 2 races. They're more like races because
not as far as I remember. Just as a note, Luke read them very recently. I've been reading them since, like, I haven't reread them since I started reading it. So
you should.
If I get things wrong, that'll be why. And if I don't know fine details.
Well, yeah,
but I do plan on reading it again soon, just because Luke reading it has made me, more excited about it.
I'm here for
because now he's talking about it a lot.
The fine details. I'm talking about it with good reason because it's fantastic.
It's real good. No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying like, it's making me want to read it again.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. No, this was also like usually when I'm reading comics, I can read through a volume and then I'll be like, okay, I'll go do something else now. But with this, I just could not put this down. Usually jacking it. Yeah, whatever.
You can do that during. There's plenty of steamy sex scenes in Saga.
There are a lot of sex scenes in Saga, and like explicit sex scenes.
Oh yeah, very. Especially when the Will goes to that like whorehouse planet.
Yeah, there's a few scenes at Sextillion, which is just like, I don't know if it was a planet or an asteroid or something, but it's a very large, like Las Vegas-esque, just whorehouse.
Giant brothel in space,
Yeah.
which makes it better than a regular brothel.
Yeah, it does.
Except almost everything there is horrifying, like to my human sensibilities.
Yeah, they had there's a scene where one of the characters is walking past various booths, presumably with women that he can purchase for the night, and men.
Rent. It's called renting, I think.
Purchase for the night.
I think they preferred the term renting.
How about hiring?
with space bucks.
One of them was essentially it was a single being. I can't really say person, but it was essentially a human centipede of a woman.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
She's very long, had a bunch of arms coming out the sides, but it didn't look
like... Did she have a pair of boobs for every pair of arms?
I don't recall, but I'm going to look that up while we continue talking about this.
Let's talk about the will. Well, okay, let's give a rundown of the plot really quick, but then we'll talk about the will, because I love the will.
I do enjoy the will. So, the two main characters are Marco, who is from Wreath, the moon.
He has horns.
And Alana, his wife, who is from Landfall. And
she has wings. And some green in her hair.
Yeah. Yeah, she's real hot with her green streak.
And her vaguely ethnic look.
There is a set of tits for every pair of arms on that.
There you go.
On that woman. She also has a very long tongue, which is like really the least human part of her, including the fact that she looks like a centipede. Because like that just looks like a bunch of torsos stacked on each other. But then she has this like Gene Simmons-esque tongue.
Like when your computer would freeze, but you could still move that box around and it would leave like a trail of itself around. It's like you did that with a torso.
Yeah. So yeah, Alana and Marco and their respective races are at war for some reason. Hasn't been specified, I don't think, at all. It's just they're in this endless war because it's easier not to explain it.
Yeah.
And
well, it might be one of those things like nobody remembers how it started, but they'll be goddamned if they're going to give up first.
Yeah, like the war in Iraq.
Yeah. Oil and stuff.
So they're rival soldiers. They meet and fall in love, of course, because it's like Romeo and Juliet. And it's romantic. And they have a baby. And the story starts right as the baby's being born. And the rest of the comic so far is basically just them trying to escape their respective armies who are trying to murder them and the baby just to, like, quell any notion that they could possibly get along, I guess. Like, they can't have people thinking that their two different species can not be at war. Because military-industrial complex? I don't know.
Also, Marco's like a prisoner of war, and Alana was his, like, the person who was, like, not looking after him, but keeping watch over him, basically.
Him, yeah. He was a soldier, but then he was always a pacifist, so he was kind of unwillingly in the war.
Found space Jesus.
He's actually his story is a lot like Finn's in the new Star Wars, where
I was going to say Adventure Time. He's a child.
No, where like he's part of the army but doesn't really see combat, and then when he finally does, and he sees a bunch of people killed, he's like, "Oh, that's not for me.
Nope,
I don't want that." So he lays down arms and lets himself get taken prisoner by his enemies. Where he meets Alana, who she kind of seems like she was a stereotypical bad girl when she was like high school age, like rebelling against her parents.
She wore a whole leather jacket,
probably, or like a half leather jacket.
No, there's a little flashback panel where she's wearing a leather jacket.
Yeah, I must have missed that.
She's a drive-in.
Plus the aforementioned green streak in her hair.
I think that's just there. I think that's just like her hair. That's what it does. Like Doc Hammer, the guy who does, or one of the guys who does Venture Bros, his hair is naturally blonde and black.
Yeah, because he's like half albino.
Something like that. Yeah, he doesn't voice the albino guy. He voices Billy Quizboy. Just put that out there.
And Dr. Girlfriend. Sorry, Dr. Mrs. Monarch.
Dr. Mrs. the Monarch. So yeah, Marco is Space Jesus? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, sort of. He's a pacifist who does magic. So
that's true, and he's got horns.
I haven't seen him walk on water yet.
Just like the real Jesus.
So yeah, Yeah, Alana, when she was in the army, she got some like smutty romance book, like
I
the
would have said trashy.
trashy whatever. The
I know that's
space
splitting hairs, but that's the adjective I would use for it.
the space equivalent of the books that you see Fabio on.
Harlequin romance novels. Yeah, I don't know. Is it really like that? Because the way she described it made it just sound like.
They show some excerpts. It's really shitty.
Oh, okay. I think I remember one excerpt, but I remember her describing it as like it's like a rock monster falls in love with a Contessa.
Yeah.
And her friend is like, oh, I don't like horror stories, and she's like, no. They end up going out and God, what is it? It's like they hang out and
watch movies
something.
and stuff.
Well, she described it as, and then sometimes they eat sandwiches at the movies.
Oh yeah.
Which I think
a very
that line was put in there. Well, I think that line "eat sandwiches at the movies" was put in there, so it would be like space. How weird. So eat sandwiches at the movies.
I hope that wasn't like Brian K. Vaughan testing the waters to see how people would react to him writing a romance novel, because that was not well written. But I hope it was intentionally done.
He should have got Chip Zdarsky to write any romance novel excerpts he needed.
That would have been pretty great. So yeah, she reads this novel, just decides that there shouldn't be war between these races. That's kind of the underlying theme of the book she's reading.
Yeah, well, like, I don't know if she decides it. Like, Marco's the one who says it, but it's kind of like, implied, or, the dialogue, based on the dialogue, she thinks it too. But he says that the book seems to be about the war and how, I guess, pointless it is and stuff. They have like a whole conversation about it while he's breaking rocks or laying down a railroad or something while he's a prisoner.
There's a whole chapter where they're just analyzing a book.
About a rock monster dating a Contessa.
Just wrong in my eyes.
In my 1920s worldview. Rock monsters should keep to their own kind.
So after that, they just kind of... they escape the planet they're on, because they're on some other planet. Basically, the warring races have left their own planets, or planet and moon, to go fight the war on other planets, getting other people swept up in it because they're dicks. And so they escape that planet on a tree/rocket ship. It's a wooden rocket that grew out of the ground.
Is it sentient?
It's at least got AI. It seems like it's.
Yeah.
It's somewhat, I guess.
Just like all trees.
Yeah, just like all tree rocket ships. Which this was all in the first volume, and when they got to that point where they're like, we're going to the rocket ship forest to take a rocket ship that rose out of the ground to fly
to
away.
Rocket Town. They said rocket just every other word.
That was like the one part in this comic where I was kind of unsure. I was like, I don't know if I can take that seriously, kind of thing.
And then they started hardcore banging, and you were back on board.
Well, but the thing is, and I looked this up. It makes sense because Brian K. Vaughan basically started writing this when he was a kid. Like he had ideas for it as a kid, and then
mostly just the sex scenes.
Probably mostly the sex scenes.
And then he made a plot,
and then finally fleshed it out as an adult. But like, it makes sense because this comic reads as if someone started writing a children's book and like made a universe for it, populated it with basically sentient humanoid animals, and just this romantic story of star-crossed lovers and all that shit, and then
what a romantic you are,
and then put like an R-rated movie into that universe.
Hey, why don't you read us the first line of the comic?
The first line of the comic is, well, technically the first line of the comic is, "This is how an idea becomes real."
Okay, the first bit of dialogue.
The first bit of dialogue from the comic is, "Am I shitting? It feels like I'm shitting." Spoken by Alana as she's giving birth.
To a baby.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, we see a baby, we don't see poop.
Oh, the only other thing that bugs me about this comic is unrelated to what we were just talking about, is that between the two species, like, there's the ones with horns and there's the one with wings, but that's not even consistent among the species. Like,
yeah, you said their wings are weird, right?
Sometimes. Yeah, like some of them have wings that look like bug wings, like a dragonfly's wings almost, with transparent and veiny and all that. And then some of them have like bird wings.
Maybe it's supposed to be like ethnicities on their planet.
But they're already kind of like just they're both clearly humans plus either wings or horns.
Yeah.
But then the same is true of the horns. Some of them have like goat horns, some of them have antlers, and some of them have...
Yeah, what's her face? Gwendolyn has like long pointy horns that go up, whereas Marco's like curl around back behind his ears.
Yeah, and then some of them even have just straight up like rhino horns, like a few down the middle of their face, which is completely different.
And then there's just like random alien races.
Yeah.
Like there's a ton of alien races. It's not just these two, there's a ton of them.
No, there's a bunch of different types of people.
The guy who wrote the novels is a Cyclops in Space Clops. There's a little seal man who is adorable.
Oh god, I love him. He's my favorite.
I know.
His name is Goose, and he looks like a baby seal that like walks on two legs and wears overalls.
Yeah, he looks like a baby seal dressed like the fisherman from those frozen fish packets.
The Gorton fisherman.
Yeah.
I imagine him speaking with like a southern accent, like he's a little farmer. That's
like a Thai southern lawyer.
that's pretty much how I hear him. He also can't seem to distinguish women from men. For some reason.
Just like Goku. In the old Dragon Ball comics, Goku had to like touch people's crotches to figure out what gender they were.
Like the president in Metal Gear Solid 2?
Yeah, exactly. He called it a pat-pat.
Did he ever get arrested?
No, because he beat up some cops right after he did it to Krillin.
So there is a police force in Dragon Ball Z, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but like, what are they going to do? Goku can literally kill a planet.
Yeah, that seems to kind of put a damper on the justice system there.
Well, he's a good guy, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Though then again, like Vegeta is a good guy by the end, but he also killed just a ton of people. Even when he was like kind of a good guy later on, he still killed a lot of people. Though I think they brought them all back to life, so I guess that's okay. No.
That doesn't count.
No, they didn't. Specifically, they didn't come back to life because their wish was that, it was something like bring back the people killed by Bobity's guys or something, and Vegeta technically wasn't one of his guys at the time, so all the people that he killed did not come back to life.
Did you say Bobity?
Yeah. His dad was Bibbidi, and they created the monster Boo. It's very high class pun work.
Okay.
I don't know if you get it because it's Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, but it's one part of that is each of their names.
No, I'm not following.
So okay, that's like a general rundown of the plot. They're being chased by everybody basically.
Yeah. Several groups of
Saga,
people are
Dragon
chasing
Ball.
them for different reasons.
Yeah, including King Robot the Fourth, who I think I love him.
I like him
like as a character.
But by the end of it, or like where it is now, I like him a lot more than I did at the beginning, because pretty early on in the comics they introduced a lot of different side characters, and there were almost no characters that I like wasn't interested in. Like just everyone had a super interesting backstory. I wanted to know more, except for the robots. I kind of didn't care about them at first.
Who may or may not be robots. Like they've got TVs for heads.
They look like,
but they also
gray people.
Like the rest of
with
their
TVs
body
for
is
heads.
fleshy. It seems like it's fleshy, and they have sex and stuff.
Yeah, they give birth. There's the first page of one of the issues is
a
close-up of a robot's vagina as she's pushing out her baby. And it when I first started that one, it took me a minute to realize what was going on. So I think I opened up the book and then was doing something else, so kind of looked away. And then when I looked back, I was like, "Is it a weird close-up of a robot's head? What's he do? Oh god!"
There's all blue stuff around it because their blood is blue.
And the placenta, I guess. Just all
and
the
King
insides.
Robot the Fourth, or Prince Robot the Fourth, has like a fake leg, I guess.
Does he?
Yeah, in the first bit when he's having sex with his wife, he's like not super into it because all he's thinking about is like the war, and she's like, "Oh, is it the new?" She says something like, "Is it the new leg?" or something like that, and refers to the surgeons as butchers.
Well, aren't they? When it comes down to it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, and then his dad, King Robot. King Robot looks like John Lovitz with like a giant HD TV for a head.
It's a very specific person to say he resembles. When
John Lovitz is gross.
It's just that he has a chubby body.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I meant. Is that not clear?
The only time we see the king, he was like a
It was a
hologram,
2-page spread
but
of his giant ass head.
it was like a hologram. So I'm kind of hoping that he just holograms himself to look like that, and that he doesn't actually have a head that couldn't fit in most rooms, because that just seems
He's royalty.
seems incredibly painful.
The royalty will inconvenience themselves to no end to appear better than regular people.
So early on, there are a bunch of like mercenaries that are hired to chase after the couple, and the first one we see, I'm not sure which one was first, but the first one they meet is the Stalk, who is just horrifying looking.
Giant spider woman.
Yeah, she's like a spider. If a
Not in
spider,
like a sexy way.
almost in a sexy way, but not quite. It's like,
I mean, to the will, it's sexy.
yeah, they got it on. It's like if there was a naked woman, but instead of legs, it was a spider's body, and instead of arms, she just didn't have any. But then at the end of every spider's leg is a hand, like a human hand, and then also she has like feet, 8 eyes. Yeah, but it's just creepy to look at her. Though they did kind of humanize her pretty quickly when, like, there's a flashback to her and the Will, her ex-boyfriend, also a mercenary. Or not even a flashback, they just have a phone call where she's like, "Oh, are you still upset about that time I slept around on the job?" And he is.
He should be. He's a one-woman man.
Which is weird, he doesn't really seem like one. He's kind of a cold, closed-off guy.
Yeah, he's pretty rad.
Yeah, you want to talk about him? You seem like you're excited to talk about him.
Who, unfortunately, like, never wears that sweet-ass looking mask on the back of his cape.
Yeah, I keep seeing glimpses of it, but no one ever uses it.
Yeah. Anyway, the Will is like a space mercenary bounty hunter or something. He's definitely like the Boba Fett of the story. Because as far as I'm concerned, every good story needs a Boba Fett.
And it's
he kind of looks like Jason Statham. And he tools around just being awesome.
I was going to say, he's got a shaved head. Do you think it's supposed to be Brian K. Vaughan? Was that him writing himself into the story?
I mean, if you're going to write yourself into a story, make yourself the best character. So he's like a grizzled space guy. He goes around in like a cape with a mask on it that he never wears. He's got a lance that like shoots out of the hilt and stabs people from like 30 feet away. He has super strength, apparently, and he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, that's true. One of the first things he does is, well, he goes to Sextillion, the space whorehouse, and it's like he's not there for any noble reason. He's there to get laid. It's just incidental that he happens upon a slave girl that one of the pimps, I guess, space pimps tries to push on him. And he's like, here's this little 6-year-old girl. She'll do anything you want. And he's like, honey, close your eyes. And then he smashes the guy's head in.
No, he doesn't smash the guy's head. He gently places his hands on the sides of the guy's head and like just puts his hands together.
Squeezes. Just claps.
Yeah, that was so cool. Like, that's cooler than him just like, violently crushing his head. Because that was just like,
it's just so
I don't
calm.
know, like, yeah, because like it's like that scene in Dark Knight Rises where Bane is talking to that guy that sounds like a retarded person.
Batman.
Who was like the the owner of like the rival company wanted to take over Wayne Enterprises, who like kind of sounded like Louis Anderson, I think, like a more subdued Louis Anderson. He's like, why hasn't my company absorbed Wayne? Probably less than that, but like when Bane is like, oh, do you feel in charge? And he like just gently puts his hand on the guy's shoulder, like not even like clasping it, but just like how can I describe this correctly?
I don't know. Keep going
for listeners.
Menacingly.
No. I mean like because the way I'm describing it makes it sound like he like grabs his shoulder, but he puts his hand on like that. Like he's
perpendicular. Chopping.
Yeah, kind of like he's like a karate chop basically, but he
He's
just
just
places
resting his hand on the shoulder.
Yeah, he just rests his hand on the guy's shoulder, and he's like, "Do you feel in charge?" And the guy is just like he just knows that he's done. I thought that was incredibly badass, and that's kind of what this is like. Like he just puts his hands on the guy's head, and the guy's like, "What are you doing?" And then he just squeezes his head.
No, he
together.
knows what he's doing. He's like, "You murder children. Please don't do this." But he won't have sex with children because the will is
that's
awesome.
gross. Yeah, he doesn't do things that are illegal.
Yes, he does.
Hey, he's a bounty hunter. I'm pretty sure he's got a license to do those things.
A license to kill.
Yeah, a license to kill, like Brock Sampson.
Samson.
And to have sex with Spider Woman.
Ugh. I don't even know how that works.
Though the Will is in a coma for like half the story.
That is true.
So far. He's out of it now, but I think he went in like Volume 3, and then he came out of it in like Volume 5.
But chronologically, it's been most of the story because there was like a big time jump there.
Yeah.
Like he's been in the coma for a few years.
And the baby Hazel just got adorable. Like everything she says is hilarious.
She's pretty adorable. It's just
like when they were they get kidnapped by like space revolutionary pirates or something in Volume 5.
The baby of the main characters is Hazel, if we haven't mentioned that.
Yeah, she's narrating the story from some point in the future. And there's the bit when Marco's parents join them, but his dad dies in like the second volume.
I think the end of the second, yeah.
Yeah, because the end of it is them.
Spoilers.
In the middle of the last issue of the second volume is them in the middle of the third volume, when it's Prince Robot IV confronting the writer of the books, and then like most of Volume 3 takes place before that. So when I reread it, I might actually skip that issue and then read up to that point and then read that issue and then continue in Volume 3.
Yeah, it's a little out of order. It works fine the way it is, but
yeah, I'm sure it was mostly just like because he knew that it was going to be out for it was going to be off for a few months, just to ratchet up the tension.
Yeah.
So they get kidnapped by like the space pirate people, and the grandmother is with it's her, Alana, and the grandmother, Marco's mom. And she wakes up, and Hazel, she wakes up and she goes, "Good morning, Granny. We are visiting our new neighbor's house, but mostly just this room," because they're like prisoners. I don't know, I thought that was really funny.
They're being kept in a cell at that point. Yeah, she's adorable and doesn't know what's going on.
Also, apparently, in that universe, they tell their children, that the universe was farted out by like a space fairy or something.
Well, that's just one of the theories, Dane. You gotta teach the controversy.
The many very valid theories.
I mean, in this universe, the way it's set up, there's no reason to believe that that's not how it happened.
That's true. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in this universe.
There's a lot of walking, talking animals, a tree lady.
They take a drug that is like set up as chocolate bars.
Yeah, like little Hershey's
fade away
squares.
Yeah, I liked Alana's reaction to them not offering her drugs. She was like, I'm cool. I'm susceptible to peer pressure.
I'm hip. Yeah, I really like that volume, Volume 4, where it's like they've been going on these adventures, and they finally try to sort of settle down. Alana takes a job as an actress, which is illegal, I think.
Is it?
The whole entertainment industry is like basically it's like pirate radio, but TV, and it's basically just soap operas.
Yeah, like really, but like with superheroes.
Yeah, like superhero soap operas. So like,
which honestly, I would probably totally watch that.
Yeah. So like, she takes a job as this actress, and Marco is just a stay-at-home dad. But it's like, for that volume, it was just a drama about them mostly, because Marco meets another woman who is like their daughter's dance instructor. And
she looks like a bat.
She does look like a bat.
Her face. She's got that gross nose.
She's like a purple human bat person.
Mad bat.
And so there's like some sexual tension there, and it's like, oh, is Marco going to do a bad thing? And then meanwhile, Alana starts taking drugs with her actor friends, and like that fucks her up.
This is the after school special volume.
It kind of is. And so, like, at the end of that, they have they're really only big fight, I think, since the comic starts, where like he gets really upset with her for potentially having been high in front of their kid and throws a bag of groceries at her, and she yells at him
badass.
she yells at him to get away, and then she and the others get kidnapped and taken away from him, and it's super sad.
By space pirates.
Well, by the robot guy first.
Oh yeah, the one who kidnapped the royal baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a black and white TV robot.
Yeah, I don't know if I was on his side or not, because I was more on Prince Robot the Fourth's side. Because Prince Robot the Fourth was just trying to get his baby back.
Sort of.
He was like every Liam Neeson character.
At that point, did he even know about that?
The baby?
Yeah, like before, like most of the time he was just trying to hunt down Alana and Marco because that was the job he was given, and he wasn't allowed to come home to see his wife and as yet unborn baby. And then he gets messed up at the lighthouse. Someone hurts him in the fight, and he basically shuts down because he's a robot, and that's what they do. And then he rebooted.
And then he goes to Sextillion.
Yeah, and
for I guess years, maybe, however long the time skip was.
No, I don't think that was during the time skip. I think so he's at this space whorehouse, and I think he's like slowly regaining consciousness, sentience, whatever. He's just kind of in like factory settings mode to begin with. And then while he's there, his wife is murdered. Like the baby is born, then the wife is murdered, and the baby is kidnapped, and then they come wake him up, and they're like, "So we're not usually supposed to interact with our customers, but your wife's dead and your baby got kidnapped. Sorry."
By the way, so you want to continue this blowjob or what?
He doesn't. he kills the madam, the madam of the establishment,
Space Madam,
Space Madam, Mama Son, who is like just a purple woman with really sharp teeth.
Gross.
And so, at that point, that's like right before he teams up with Marco to find the kids. So up until that point, no, he wasn't really looking for his kid. He was trying to get back to his kid eventually, but that wasn't his.
Yeah, no, I knew that.
All right.
Yeah, I just meant like because I didn't mean it's like a long story. I meant it's like about a full volume where he's searching for his kid. I didn't mean like that's his whole journey throughout the comic. I know what I was talking about.
Well, I don't know what you were talking about. I never know what you're talking about.
I mean, I kind of forgot that that's what you were trying to explain. So I just let you keep talking.
What the hell were we talking about?
The guy, I guess, who kidnapped the royal baby.
Yeah.
And how Prince Robot the Fourth totally murders him.
With good reason.
His baby back. Yeah. I'm not. I'm on Prince Robot the Fourth's side. He's trying to get his baby back.
Oh yeah. At that point, I definitely was like. Yeah. I mean, I guess I still wasn't entirely like. I didn't entirely like him, Prince Robot, but I was like, okay, well, you got to kill the guy. Like, there's nothing else for you to do.
He done killed your wife.
Killed your wife. Baby. Stole your baby. Kill him. What else? Oh, so there's also Gwendolyn. I think you mentioned her briefly, who is
Marco's ex-fiance.
Ex-fiance. Who it seems like she doesn't really have any like she's not doing it out of any personal vendetta for him, but she's also hunting them down just on behalf of the people from Wreath, the Horned people. I think they call it the Wreath High Command. Because, yeah, I guess both sides just want to kill them for the same reasons as mentioned before.
I know I would. Interbreeding. I meant in space.
Oh, space interbreeding, yeah.
Different species, not different races.
Yeah, the bright side of them being space people and fighting among which ones have horns and which ones have wings, like those star-bellied Sneetches in that Dr. Seuss story, is that they don't really care about, like, skin color. So, that's nice.
Yeah.
I think
I wonder if it's going to turn out...
Someone refers to Gwendolyn as dark at one point, I think. That's about it. She is.
I guess
She's
Macho has a
black.
type.
She's a black woman with horns.
Alana, I would describe Alana as far as Earth races, I would describe her as maybe Indian.
Really?
Like Asian Indian?
I always just thought of her as black. Like maybe 3/4 black.
Maybe like in the way that Rashida Jones is black.
Yeah. She's got dark skin.
I don't know, maybe I'd say Indian or some sort of Hispanic.
Some sort of Hispanic.
Well, there's a lot of them. I don't mean a lot of them as in people. There are, but I mean like I meant countries. The different nationalities. There's a lot of those.
So like Dominican. You think she's Dominican?
Is that in the Caribbean?
Yes.
Maybe? I don't know. I don't know what a Dominican looks like.
Carla from Scrubs.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't actually know if the actress is. I just know the character was.
Anyway, we should probably stop talking about race.
But before we say something we regret again.
The will is white. Phew.
Thank God. So yeah, Gwendolyn shacks up with the Will, mercenary, and Slave Girl, the 6-year-old
Sophie.
Yeah, 6-year-old.
Wait, is it Sophie or Sophia?
Sophie.
Okay, Sophie, because she didn't have a name before.
No, she was just Slave Girl, and he was like, "God, we can't keep calling her that. That is really weird." And yeah, he names her Sophie after his own sister, who we meet later.
The Brand,
who like.
So I guess the is just like what you call mercenaries or bounty hunters.
Freelancers, they call them.
Yeah, freelancers. Yeah. So it's like the is like an official title.
More or less. I mean, it's clearly the whole thing is a nickname because they have real names. Like the Brand is Sophie. The Will is actually William.
He didn't put much thought into it.
Seems kind of lazy.
Unless Brand is like her middle name or something. Or maybe their last name.
Probably not. William
Brand. Sophie Brand.
Stalk, they say her name and I can't remember what it is. It's something French sounding.
Gross. 8 legs?
Yeah.
Wait. I don't know what is French for 8.
Me neither. You got farther than I would have.
Thank you. I've been practicing.
When they meet her spider brother.
Oh yeah, what's his name? Steve? Steve the Spider?
Spider Stevie?
Johnny Forehead?
Halvor. His name is Halvor.
Jesus Christ, that's awesome. That's like a Viking name. Halvor.
When I first started reading and I hadn't looked it up yet, I thought that the blue language that the people from Wraith speak, I thought it was like some sort of mix between Italian and Elvish.
I don't think I've ever actually looked at, like, I'm just aware that I can't read it, so I didn't even look at, process what it would look like.
I noticed that some of it was, somewhat understandable for me, because it was, very close to Spanish, but, not even quite that. So I was like, okay, it looks like Portuguese or Italian, and then,
something that Rico Suave would speak.
Some Elvish in there, but then I looked it up, and it was just Esperanto.
Suave.
The Stalk's real name is Henriette.
Henriette?
Henriette.
Like Henriette, but wrong?
But without the H.
I remember
Henriette.
You remember that book, Summer of the Monkeys?
No.
You never read that?
Summer of the Monkeys?
Yeah, I read it in 5th grade.
Like the band?
No, like the book about a kid who finds a bunch of circus monkeys in the woods.
Like Monkees?
No, like Monkeys, like the animals.
Davy Jones?
Like that, exactly. like David Bowie. No, it was this book I read in 5th grade about this kid. It was not in modern times, so it was probably it was close enough, so it was maybe 1920s or 30s, I think. It was back when people lived on... It was like in a time when people lived on farms and wore overalls as a normal thing, because that's what the kid wore, I think. Anyway, he finds a bunch of monkeys in the woods who escape from a circus or something. And I remember one of them was called Henry in the book, but it was spelled with an I. So when we watched the movie in class, he pronounced it as Henri, and that just threw me for a loop.
When
But what I really
when you
wanted to talk
discovered that
about
there were other countries.
is when the monkeys make him drink whiskey mash and steal his pants.
They make him?
Yeah.
Are these like sentient monkeys?
What are you talking? Yes, they're sentient. They can think for themselves. They just don't talk language.
I didn't know they could just try to date rape a kid.
Try. They got his entire pants off, and he passed out from drinking whiskey mash. Because they found a whiskey still in the woods. The monkeys did.
And they thought, should we drink this or should we force this onto a child?
They forced the child to like whiskey mash too, which I don't know. I still not like. I've never looked enough, so I don't know a lot about whiskey production.
But I assume it's strong.
I assume it's solid. That's what I always assumed, that it was like not quite like not metal, but
was there like a monkey holding down each arm and then like one prying his mouth open?
It was more like he didn't want to be impolite. It seemed like. So
it was peer pressure.
Yeah, they they just kept like holding it up to him, and again, this is how I'm remembering it. This was 5th grade, so this is probably completely inaccurate.
You're just looking at it through a victim's eyes, Dane. It's not his fault.
So they just kept, as far as I remember, they just kept holding up the cup or whatever to him, and like he was just like, okay, fine. And then he drank it, got hammered, and they stole his pants.
Were they like inducting him into their fraternity?
No, I think they just disappeared with his pants. They probably just wanted his pants.
All right. Was there like some big finale where he comes upon like a monkey king wearing pants?
I don't remember any other detail of that book. Though I do confuse it all the time with where the red fern grows.
But the monkey doesn't recognize him because it doesn't care about him?
Well, what? It's a child. He just got date raped by a monkey. The monkey doesn't care.
Just like the dozens of other boys that they've date raped.
Yeah, maybe it's the same protagonist as Where the Red Fern Grows.
Is that the one where the dog dies?
Yeah, after he saves up all of his money forever to buy it from a magazine ad or something.
He buys the dog through
he buys the monkey.
He buys the dog through a magazine ad?
I'm pretty sure. Again, it's been since 5th grade.
Oh, I should have spent that on X-ray specs.
Maybe that's the same guy. I don't know. It might just be the exact same protagonist, but with a different name. Just a general kid in not terribly olden times who lives on a farm and wears overalls.
Huck Finn.
It's all Huck Finn.
Those were the adventures that he went on.
Getting raped by monkeys and buying dead dogs. So the Will he's phenomenal. He's
pretty cool. He does not condone child sex.
No, which is good. That's something you should look for in a good character.
I certainly do. It's the first thing I look for in any book I read.
I make sure that Spider-Man is not, cool with child sex as soon as I open that book.
Yeah, which I don't think has ever been confirmed. So
he got molested once, I think.
Did he?
You didn't know that? There's a comic from the 80s where there's some kid who's
I've probably seen this, but just
been molested or something, and Spider-Man's well, let me tell you about when I was molested, and tells a whole story about when he was Peter Parker before he got his powers, and some older kid molested him.
I thought you were going to say Uncle Ben did it, and that they retconned why he let him
Secret
die.
origin.
And you know what happened to my Uncle Ben?
He died.
He's not around anymore. He got shot. And they never found the killer.
Oh, Spidey.
So the Will...
Yeah. So the Will crushes pimps' heads and doesn't even bother to take names. But also he gets stabbed in the neck by Sophie, the little girl, and goes into a coma for, I'd say, a good year or two.
I think a year and a half.
Yeah, because Hazel is talking, she's sentient and walking around, but also the prince baby is still a baby. But I don't know how long their what their lifespan is and relatively how long they would be a baby.
Well, as of the most have you read up through the most recent?
As far as I remember, yeah.
Because
new one coming out.
You do see the prince's baby again, and he's the equivalent of a 10-year-old boy.
Jesus Christ!
So they seem to age fast, yeah.
Okay, so that's I don't know. Yeah, because they did another time skip. It's because Hazel's a bit older.
Yeah, she's now in a school back on Landfall, I want to say, where...
Yeah,
her mother's
which
people
means
are
that
from.
Marco and Alana haven't had sex in like a few years, probably.
No, they did actually have sex. They mention like, Hazel's narrating and she's talking about how like her parents have an unspoken vow that they will not, you know, redo the deed that's created their daughter until they get their daughter back.
Yeah, but then they do have sex, but that takes place like after the time skip.
Yeah, but she says that they're like really bad at keeping vows, so they entirely could have had sex before.
Oh,
that,
they
too.
could have. I'm just assuming that that's implying that was the first time they had sex since they got back together.
Maybe it was unclear.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? It's not even important. I'm just felt like bringing it up.
Yeah. It's surprising that they didn't have sex more because there's a lot of sex in this book.
Yeah, they love to sex it up.
I think we cover most of the story.
Yeah.
There's that one part where they have to go get some dragon semen.
Yeah, from a dragon that's blowing itself.
Yeah, that was kind of gross.
They also deal with a female dragon that just unleashes just a torrent of urine all over them.
But
bright yellow urine.
Sophie calms it down by telling it to calm down with her translation jewelry. Which is just magic. Yeah,
that's just science we don't understand yet.
There's a good bit of magic in this comic that they intentionally don't explain because it's just.
I like that. I prefer that.
Yeah, no, I do too.
Because they all understand it.
Yeah.
So why would they explain it?
They don't need to go into detail to explain why this is happening. It's just, look, there's magic. Sometimes things aren't going to make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
Fuck
good. I don't need my handheld when I read a comic. I mean, it'd be nice, for support, but literarily,
you just let me know.
If that's a word, I don't need my handheld.
Anyway, Saga reminds me kind of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in that way, in that...
Because it's in space?
Partly because it is in space, and also it's just like, it's got this kind of underlying humor where, like I said, it's almost like it's taking place inside a children's storybook. So it's like, there are so many things where they are very clearly, like, human mannerisms or something that we have here on Earth, and they just might as well have just added space to the name.
Yeah, like space gaze and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. Where it's just like, you just have to take it for what it is, where it's like, okay, here's stuff that happens exactly the way it is on Earth, but it's totally not on Earth. It's in space somewhere.
Like if you took a children's book but made it into a realistic universe, so people can act like humans.
Yeah.
As opposed to like their characters in a children's book, so they can say fuck and stuff.
I don't think Goose, the tiny little baby seal, has said fuck.
Why would he? He's too adorable for that.
He's so adorable.
It would be adorable if he said it, but also he doesn't need to because of how adorable he is.
He did take pleasure in hurting Robot, so he's not all innocent. He has a nice big axe.
Yeah, big old golden axe, like the video game.
Yeah, and Marco ODs on that drug.
Yeah, fade away.
They're like, how do we do it? Like, oh, well, it turns out robot blood is toxic to most other species, and it shows little Goose with his giant golden axe, and he's like, well, you don't say. And then presumably he gets to cut Robot. I cannot wait to just start reading this again, which I might do as soon as we stop recording.
I really like the back of Volume 2. Like that, they just have like covers on the back from like a certain issue, and that one looked it looked like an anime image almost, but like painted. Like sometimes they do like covers of stuff and it's like painted art, and it looks like that. Like it has like a really cool quality to it.
The one where the Alana's sitting on a like a jet engine or something.
Yeah, and like how the background is just like blue, like just clear blue sky and like nothing else. Something about it just looks really cool to me.
Reading her
trashy romance novel by D. Oswald Heist, the space Cyclops.
I like him.
Yeah, super dead.
He's a little dead.
Super dead.
This is like a bit of dead.
He's like 200% dead.
Anywho, anything else you want to say about how great Saga is?
It's pretty great. You should go read it. Or we just won't be friends anymore, I guess.
Yeah, you should read it before you have listened to this already. So if you haven't, go back in time and don't listen to this first. So you can be surprised.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the intro we can be like, hey, go read this first.
Well, we will.
But also listen to this.
But we're saying it now also.
We want you to. Luke's wife loves it. She read it before he did.
That's true. But I am farther in it than her.
Gross.
Farther in it than her. She's only read the first 4 volumes. But by the time she listens to this, she will have read all of it.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'll need to reread it again soon. I have all 5 volumes, had them since before you did.
I'm Dane, I have things. I possess material goods. Anyway, fucking read Saga.
Yeah, go read Saga.
And anything else by Brian K. Vaughan.
Yeah, you're not going to be disappointed by his work.
Thanks for listening.
Yep, bye.
Bye.